launch tomorrow. You must find a way to get aboard that shuttle and go to the Eagle 1 space station. All I can tell you is that an event of immense importance is about to occur in space. You must be ready.
Docking sequence initiated.
What is it, Gene?
I don't know.
A trap!
But our agents will soon be destroyed.
Back to the shuttle. It's our only chance.
We're gonna fly right through the energy contrail.
Look like they're gonna be a barbecue. And we gonna be the main course.
Hey everybody, welcome to this edition of R&B Reviews. I am Rob and I'm joined by Darren.
Greetings!
Not Darren Nito, but Darren, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Not Darren Nito.
No, not today. Last week we uploaded our review of The Dark Phoenix, which is probably going to be the last of this series of X-Men films. Now, I don't have to tell you that The Dark Phoenix did not do well at the box office. It hasn't gotten a very good response.
Nope.
So we are going to discuss ideas about why this movie didn't do very well and why it failed. For one thing, the movie got pushed back for one thing, which is usually not a good sign. And there's
just
also
kept pushing it back and back and back.
Yeah.
And obviously it wasn't worth pushing it back.
And also there were rumors of reshoots. Now, I think reshoots are very commonplace with movies now because sometimes some things get shot or they aren't needed or it needs to be worked on or needs to be fixed or whatever. I think it's probably more commonplace in the entertainment business than we think. But when people hear reshoots, they're like, "Uh-oh, that means it didn't work out," and they're gonna attempt to fix it, and it's not gonna always work. But I mean, there were talk about the reshoot. Now, the original Last Third, my understanding was it took place in space.
Yes.
I heard that it didn't test well, and I also heard I read from James McAvoy that the creative team thought that the original ending was too similar to a Marvel Cinematic Universe film. He didn't name the film. I don't know if they were thinking of Thor Ragnarok or Captain Marvel, but so they said, okay, well, why don't we redo it? So they set it on the train, which is what's in the final film.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Rob, any way you toss the dice, The Phoenix is a space opera, okay? Why they took it out of space, I will never know. I'm a diehard fan of the X-Men the Animated Series, and we actually watched a few clips of that before because I wanted to catch him up, from 1994. They had gold in 1994, the X-Men the Animated Series, and why they couldn't follow that story, I mean, I saw similarities of the X-Men Animated Series in Dark Phoenix. Okay, but the Dark Phoenix is a saga, okay? Yeah. And at first it starts with the Phoenix Saga, and it's not a season later until the Dark Phoenix. It takes a while for Jean to turn dark. Why they want to rush this again? It made absolutely no sense to me.
Course correction. I must. Scott! Logan! Someone help me.
Up out of the water. You said something. And then you lost consciousness.
I don't remember. How did I survive? Did I survive?
You're here, aren't you?
Yes, but I feel strange. Like I'm someone else. Like I could reach out and touch the moon and crush it in my hand.
Jean, who is Phoenix?
Phoenix. Am I Phoenix?
You claimed her identity once before, Jean, when you rose not from the ashes, but from the depths of New York Harbor.
I flew.
Yes, Jean. Some sort of transformation has taken place that none of us yet understands.
So like in the animated series, you know, you could see them going into space,
Yes.
okay? I was excited at that point in the movie, like maybe they're gonna get it right this time, okay? But no. No, unfortunately, you know. I mean, the X-Men animated series had like Jean flying the aircraft and then it crash lands, you know, like from just like this radiation like force, which they had, but they made it a cosmic storm. The Phoenix is an entity of itself. I mean, she ends up in the hospital in the animated series, and you know, in the movie, it was just implied that like, oh, like she was at the X Mansion and they're like, oh, they're calling you the Phoenix now, and it just, there's just so many different scenes. Like if you watch the animated series, I mean, like her rising out of the water. I mean, that's a golden shot. You know, we saw that in X2.
Yeah.
You know, but X-Men Last Stand, you know, we know how that ended.
Yeah.
And I thought that this would really end differently.
Yeah.
But it didn't. If he would have just watched the damn cartoon. Yeah.
But you did bring up a good point. I think another reason is, you know, the Phoenix story was touched upon in Last Stand. Now, that was my initial reaction when I saw trailers for this movie. I'm like, well, we kind of saw this story again. Why do we need to go through it again? I mean, granted, it's probably, now I never read the comic book, so it's probably not the exact same, you know, story.
Right.
But, I mean, I'm like, why are we doing this story all over again of her being the Phoenix? And, you know, that was my initial reaction. So, and something else brought up now, in the same article where Jessica Chastain, when they talked about the reshoot, she said her character changed. So she's an alien. So
Okay.
I'm wondering whether, now I could be wrong. Do you think she could have been Lilandra in the original version of the ending?
I mean, it would have worked if she was, you know, not this alien race that we don't even know anything about. I mean, they're not in the comics. I mean, if she was the Shi'ar, if we had the Shi'ar Empire in there, it would have made more sense to us fans, you know. But it just, why they didn't do that? I mean, it just makes me so angry.
This movie was written and directed by Simon Kinberg. I know he wrote some of the other X-Men movies. I think he wrote a draft of the Fantastic Four that Josh Trank wrote and directed, and
we know that, Trank.
yeah. I mean, that's a different subject for a different day. But anyway,
right.
Matthew Vaughn, I believe, is not involved in this Dark Phoenix movie, and obviously Bryan Singer is not involved because of the drama that he was probably working on Bohemian Rhapsody, but because of the drama that went on, they probably didn't hire him back again. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it has to be Simon Kinberg's fault because, I mean, I thought there was some good ideas, but the execution just wasn't there, you know?
Right. And, I mean, Jessica Chastain, she would have been a brilliant Lilandra, okay? But, again, like, I felt like I was watching, like, Invasion of the Body Snatchers meets X-Men. You see Simon Kinberg's style with heroes and all that in this movie. And it just, frankly, it just didn't work, you know? But I will give Simon Kinberg props for one thing. You know, it takes a real man to admit his mistakes, and he did admit that in social media, that he did screw up. So I will say that. Again, Jessica Chastain could have been Lilandra, we could have been in space, or it could have just all taken off. You know, why Hollywood wants to keep on reinventing the wheel of these classic stories, it just agonizes the hell out of me. It really does. And it really kind of POs us fans off when they can't follow a simple story. Watch the damn cartoon, seriously. I mean, that's all that there is to it. Okay, so I can go on and on about X-Men the Animated Series, but rumor has it that since us fans are speaking up so much that Disney is thinking about actually restarting the cartoon that we love from 1994. Okay, so I'm hoping, I'm praying that this happens, because then we would all be on board. And another thing that just is mind-boggling to me, Rob, is Fox, it's a Fox cartoon. How could they screw up a Fox movie? You know, how could Fox screw up something that they had in their possession, like in a cartoon, and just screw up the movies so badly? It makes no sense.
Well, the people that made the cartoon years ago, obviously, I don't think were involved in making these movies. You know, you had like a whole different crew and stuff working on the movies. Now, like I said, I mean, I think the blame probably goes to Simon Kinberg, you know?
Okay. But again, why would Stan Lee just stand by, you know, when he was living and let them do this to these these properties?
I know, but I mean, something when getting back to the Fantastic Four remake, when they asked him some questions about why stuff didn't work, he said they didn't consult me. So maybe he wasn't consulted on this movie. I mean, it's possible. I don't know.
Yeah. And let's talk about some other things that just really didn't make sense of Dark Phoenix, okay? That scene like where the X-Men are kind of like having trouble crossing the street because Magneto is going at it, you know, trying to kill Jean, and then you got the X-Men fighting Magneto, and then all of a sudden he summons this this train from underground, and then he just comes in to the building just to I don't know if it was just like a powerhouse move on his part, like a thing of power or something, but he crashes the building with this train when he could have took apart that building. You know, I mean, why they had to spend the money to have that scene, you know, play out, I will never know. It just made no sense to me.
Yeah.
And like how Jean like summoned like Professor X, you know, outside his like chair, having him walk up the stairs to her. What was that all about? You know, it just, okay, we get that she's powerful, but you know, you don't have to humiliate the professor like that. I mean, it just made no sense.
Well, to be fair, she's angry at him because she feels she got lied to. I can understand.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Okay.
That now that I think about that, it did make sense. You know, she only calmed down when she actually went into his mind to see all that. I mean, that part did make sense, and I guess it was a creative effect among the writer's part and Simon Kinberg there. But it's still, that scene with Magneto, like how it didn't make sense, and they wanted to add Genosha in it, which is like the island of like, you know, mutant freedom. And we touched upon that a little bit, you know, Jean went to go see that. But the thing that really didn't make sense is we had more Phoenix power from Jean when she took down Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse. Okay, we didn't see the fiery flaming bird that is the Phoenix, and it says it right in the title, Dark Phoenix. Why they didn't include her firepower like that? But you said it would be similar to Captain Marvel.
Yeah, well, I mean, he didn't name the movie, but I mean, both films I could see similarities.
Who cares? Yeah. Okay, it's the Phoenix. It's a fiery bird of flame. You know, why? Why they didn't do that? I really don't know.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some things that Dark Phoenix did get right. Okay.
Oh yeah.
We had the Easter egg. We saw the mutant Dazzler, and you know she basically was dazzling.
Yeah. You know what? I felt kind of stupid because remember you got the figure right there, Dazzler, and I'm like, why was Kesha doing a cameo? And you're like, that's not Kesha, that's Dazzler. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
I thought that was Kesha doing a cameo appearance at the party. I didn't know that was an X-Men character.
Yeah, and I mean like Dazzler is Alison Blair. She's the mutant that interprets sound into light. And they really got it right at that party that they threw. So props to Simon Kinberg for that, you know, doing that.
I thought Simon Kinberg was good with the technical aspect. I thought he was good with camera movement and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I thought he knows how to make the camera, you know, work for at least try to get some emotional responses and everything.
But you know, I mean, whether or not it was his choices, you know, for different parts in the film, we'll never know. But I do agree with you. The camera work was stunning. The visual effects were stunning. But like we said, like Jessica Chastain did not need to be in the movie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Jessica Chastain didn't need to be in the movie, but she could have been Lilandra, and they could have put into Ken and her brother. Eric the Red's an awesome character, and then the Phoenix is the guardian of the Emcron crystal. You know, they're after that power, and Jessica Chastain. It was explained, you know, that they wanted to harness this power to rebuild their world and all that. That part I got, okay? That part I got. But how they just made it a totally different character. I hate when Hollywood does that and doesn't follow the comics. That made me absolutely livid.
Yeah.
So, like I said, you know, in the other review, I'm really on the fence with this. You know, I like some of the decisions that, you know, it wasn't all bad. It was a whole lot more enjoyable than X-Men: The Last Stand. Let's talk about Jennifer Lawrence. It's just like she didn't care anymore. She really didn't.
Well, I mean, to be fair, she did say in a few interviews that she was done with the series. I don't know if she had a contractual obligation, or I did see a quote saying that she might have came back because she was afraid that if somebody else replaced her, people would be like get confused or whatever. But I mean, I didn't think she was wrong with the movie. I thought she gave a good performance. I didn't think she was really phoning in. But I mean, her death really shocked the crap out of me.
Yeah, but now how are they gonna like revamp Mystique? Because I mean, Mystique is such a important part, you know. I mean, especially to the Brotherhood and all that. And I mean, I just feel like they just didn't give the character a chance. But now it's over, and we seen that, you know, Rebecca Romaine Stamos, when she played Mystique in the original, like, X-Men movies, there was really no rude misconception of Jennifer Lawrence taking over the character, which can happen again. Why they killed Mystique, you know, that makes it a little bit harder now, you know.
I think it easily draws comparison between the deaths that were in Avengers Endgame and this movie. Like when that happened, I was like, oh, that reminds me of this death. I mean, granted, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I mean, I kept thinking about that when it happened.
But I mean, Avengers Endgame, Robert Downey Jr., he really gave Tony Stark, you know, just a memorable, honorable death right there. And Chris Evans did wonderful as Captain America, you know, like how they changed everything, you know, to give him a great ending. Mystique, she's a much tougher character than her to go out just like that. You know, I just didn't feel like that. And that's one of the things that really irritated me about The Last Stand, is you're killing all these characters. Like, Cyclops was gone, like, in the first... I don't know, a few minutes of the movie. You know, it just... Why? Just why? But I definitely will give props to Sophie Turner as Jean Grey. She was excellent. Cyclops, Ty Sheridan. I mean, he played him to a T. You know, I mean, we started to get a little bit of, like, the ballsy Cyclops that Marsden kind of failed to do, in my opinion. So. Yeah.
And of course, now the movie, I think opening weekend, IMDb said the movie only made $32 million. I mean, I don't know how much more it made now, but I think a reason why it maybe not have done well financially is probably because, you know, this series is now in a period of transition. This movie was being worked on before the Fox-Disney merger.
Okay.
And now it's like, to me, it's like, I read an article calling it a lame duck movie because it's not part of Disney, but it's part of the old regime. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of stuck in the middle, and people are like, well,
Right.
now that Disney has the X-Men back, they're probably going to start over, which is what I think is going to happen. I think in 10 years or so, they're probably going to start completely over. And, people are like, well, if this buyout just happened, then, then what's the point of checking this movie out?
Okay, but the way that they could do it is not let it be an X-Men movie. You introduce it into the MCU in a different way, where it's the next Captain Marvel. I mean, we got Thor with
Guardians of
the Galaxy Volume 3. It will be easily you could add like the Phoenix in that and all that, because it all takes place in space. And it's just, you can introduce so many characters through different movies. And it doesn't even have to be like their own movie. I would love to see Storm again, a guest star in something. I think like Marvel's gonna wait a little bit on the X-Men.
Yeah.
Really, but I think we're gonna see like Namor the Submariner probably in the next Black Panther. We also have Adam Warlock that they're gonna have to do something with because he was introduced in Volume 2. I mean, why introduce him and not do anything with it? I would love to see. I'd love to see Mr. Sinister because at the end of Apocalypse, I thought it was Logan that this scene was, but there was like a whole thing with like the whole briefcase and the test tubes and everything, and it showed the school of Essex, and we even saw that in Deadpool a little bit too. I think it was the second Deadpool, where it says the case has ESSEX, which is Mr. Sinister. I mean, he's the father of like genetics and all this mutation and all that. And then we get into the Goblin Queen and all that too with Jean Grey. But to see Mr. Sinister on screen and have him just, he's an awesome character. Have it be so right would delight fans of every generation,
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of naming the school, what do you think about changing the school?
Oh gosh, I didn't like that. I did not like that.
I saw this one video where they could have renamed it in Mystique's honor because of how she got killed.
Right. You would think that maybe they would commemorate it after her, not the person that killed her. You know.
I mean, instead of naming the school, about naming like a room or something, a hallway
so,
after her.
So what are we gonna follow? Like in the future, Gray Men instead of X-Men? It all started with Charles Xavier. I mean, that's the X-Men. Why they did that? That was a stupid choice in my opinion too. So we see some things that were right. We see some things that were just dead wrong. And Hollywood, basically, you have to step it up and improve. I mean, especially Marvel, if you're taking over these characters, and Disney, if you're taking over these characters, do them right. Do the stories that we know and love. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. I mean, because at the end of the day, you're going to get a horrible movie out of it. If you get the director creative license. I mean, it's easy. It's easy as that.
Yeah, and plus I felt like the series was starting to run its course anyway, so...
Well, of course it's going to run its course. Hollywood is basically out of ideas. But if you follow the cartoon again, you have all that content there to make a great movie, okay? So, I mean, you definitely were entertained with the animated series before we did this video. Yeah. Why they can't get it right, I'll never know.
No. Well, Marvel's got the characters, so we'll see what happens in the future. So.
Yes! Good riddance, Fox! Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, Fox was, like, if you watch the early X-Men, they were doing what most movie studios were doing with superhero movies at the time, which is, you know, you just put it out there, you tweak it to make it what they think is suitable. But now with Marvel, what Marvel and what DC has started doing is, you know, sticking closer to the source material. Because if you look at a lot of superhero movies before Iron Man, you know, they didn't really do that.
Yeah, and Aquaman was the start of it. You know, Aquaman was awesome. It was an awesome movie. You know, because we know that story, and they include what's in the comics and everything. I mean, DC finally got it right. You know, we just need Marvel to do it for the X-Men. They got it with the Avengers. I'll tell you, because I mean, everything just falls into place. How Thanos reset the universe. That was just a brilliant part, you know, on the writers and the Russo brothers and all that. So finally, things are getting set into place, and I just hope, and I see this on John Krasinski's Instagram and Emily Blunt and all that. Please be a great Mr. Fantastic Invisible Woman, you know, if they're going to assume that role, you know. But they're husband and wife in real life, and that's what the Fantastic Four is, you know. It's Marvel's first family, you know. And again, watch the 1994 series, the animated series, Fantastic Four. Everything is all there. Doctor Doom does not need to be on the damn spaceship, okay? He doesn't. He doesn't have power. He's a mechanical genius of robots and everything. He doesn't have the power until he gets it from Silver Surfer, which that would be an awesome character to see again too, you know. So, and then you can introduce Galactus. Everybody wanted Galactus, you know, for the Fantastic Four, the second one. And we just got a dust cloud. That's all we did. So, I mean, why they're disappointing us fans so bad? But Fox is done with it. You know, we see that The Gifted didn't even make it, you know, for the third season. So, I mean, good riddance. You know, bring on some dynamite storytellers and let them follow. Just let them follow the story that is there, and we'll have great movies, you know. Yeah, good riddance, Fox.
Okay. Okay, well, all right, I think we had enough.
Oh yeah, we had enough. I had enough.
Yeah. All right, well, let me ask you guys this. What do you think happened to the Dark Phoenix if you've seen it? Where do you put the blame? What went wrong? Do you think anything went right? And how do you feel about the series, you know, ending? And what are your thoughts about the future of the X-Men with Marvel/Disney? Go ahead and post your comments below. Please hit the like button. Check out our Dark Phoenix review, and look at some other movie reviews that have been done on the channel. Stuff you can watch at home, stuff you can watch in the movie theaters, and you know, please consider being a subscriber.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
And if you're a subscriber, we'll when New Mutants comes out, we'll be covering that as well, because I want to see how bad Fox screws that up, or if they finally turn a channel here.
Well, maybe with Disney, you know, if maybe once they took over the property, they'll do some changes. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for it to be like a horror movie, and they're pushing that back as well. So, what Fox is doing, I will never know. But you stay tuned to RB Reviews. We'll give you the latest and the greatest.
All right.
Okay.
All right, and Darren, thank you for coming on to the channel again.
Oh, no problem.
Great to have you.
No problem, Rob. My pleasure.
All right. Well, thank you all for watching.
Okay. Adios.
Adios, Fox.
Yes, adios, Fox.